Welcome back to our journey through the fascinating world of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime's light novel. Let's continue from the last part, where we left.
Rimuru first tended to the wounded goblins, healing them with potions, much to their awe. Then, he mobilized the goblins to fortify the village with a makeshift fence, traps, and defensive measures. Despite doubts, the preparations went smoothly, with Rimuru taking charge of the night watch. Suddenly things got intense real quick, when the direwolves attacked while ignored the warning and attacked the goblin village. The traps started to activate, and the goblins fought back fiercely, proving their mettle. Rimuru's strategic thinking paid off as the goblins held their ground against the formidable foes, showing that intelligence beats strength. As the battle raged on, Rimuru faced the direwolf boss with determination, ready to outsmart and outfight their arrogant attitude. The direwolf alpha was surprised at how things went wrong. His pack's unity was crumbling, and he feared they might turn against him. Determined to show strength, he ready to attack the village guardian. Meanwhile, Rimuru carefully planned his moves, setting traps and facing the direwolf boss with strategy. Despite the chaos, Rimuru emerged victorious, leading the direwolves to submit. As the dust settled, Rimuru faced new challenges housing the goblins and direwolves, and even giving them names. Rimuru showed leadership and adaptability, turning former enemies into allies and navigating the aftermath of battle with humor and determination. The transformation of foes into friends marked a new chapter for the village and its inhabitants, setting the stage for cooperation and growth. After naming the goblin scout leader Rieger, Rimuru continued giving names to others in the village, both goblins and direwolves. The goblins were thrilled, treating their new names with great significance. However, something unexpected happened when Rimuru named the direwolf leader Ranga. Suddenly, he felt a severe depletion of his magical energy, entering a sleep-like state for 3 days. Upon waking up, Rimuru realized that all the monsters around him had evolved, becoming larger and more intelligent. The goblins transformed into hobgoblins and goblinas, with newfound abilities and even changes in their clothing. The direwolves, led by Ranga, also evolved into powerful tempest wolves. While Rimuru was surprised and pleased by their growth, new challenges arose, such as the need for clothing shelter and figuring out where to accommodate the evolved monsters. By the evening, a mountain of food gathered by the evolved villagers. The process took a day, and they wanted to celebrate with a feast. While Rimuru was in a sleep-like state, the villagers, with improved intelligence, gathered food. The feast continued into the night, marking the end of the war and the villagers' evolution. The next day, Rimuru set 3 basic rules for the village: not to attack humans, not to fight among themselves, and not to look down upon other species. The villagers, especially the newly appointed goblin leader, were happy to follow these rules. With the rules established, Rimuru assigned roles to the villagers and decided to seek help from dwarves for construction and clothing. With the help of Rigurd, prepared for the journey to the dwarven kingdom, Rigurd was not only in charge of logistics but also eager to lead the expedition. Despite some initial concerns, Rimuru trusted Rigurd's enthusiasm. They packed money, food, and set off on Ranga's back. Rimuru, using sticky thread to secure himself, marveled at the comfort of Ranga's fur. The journey along the Great Emerald River, guided by Gobta, aimed for the Kanat Mountains. On the way, Rimuru shared stories with the group using thought communication. They discussed Rigurd's brother and the demon horde idea, and Ranga expressed gratitude despite Rimuru defeating his father. The group, evolving after Rimuru's magic, exhibited high energy and resilience, covering half a day's travel in no time. As the group sat down for dinner on the second day of their journey, Rimuru asked Gobta about the dwarven kingdom they were heading to. Gobta seemed nervous but shared that the kingdom, led by King Gazelle Dwargo, had a long history of heroism and peace. The kingdom, known as Dwargon, was renowned for its skilled craftsmanship and powerful military. Excited by Gobta's description, Rimuru inquired about their estimated arrival time and learned they would reach the kingdom soon. Gobta explained that he had previously traveled to Dwargon to sell magical weapons and armor, as the dwarves paid well for such items. Rieger added that the kingdom's reputation for quality craftsmanship attracted visitors from various races and nations. Despite the kingdom's military might, it maintained a stance of neutrality and peace. However, upon reaching the kingdom's gates, Rimuru encountered hostile adventurers who threatened him and Gobta. Despite Rimuru's attempt to transform and intimidate them, the adventurers remained undeterred. A brief scuffle ensued, showcasing Rimuru's invulnerability. However, the commotion attracted the attention of the dwarven security force, resulting in their arrest. Rimuru tried to explain the situation, but the guards seemed unfazed. Gobota, meanwhile, followed orders, closing his eyes and covering his ears throughout the ordeal. The officer scolded Rimuru for causing trouble, but Rimuru apologized and tried to explain what happened. During their conversation, Rimuru shared a wild story about being cursed by an evil mage, which the officer seemed to buy into. They debated for hours, crafting a fantastical tale together. Later, when an Armosaurus attacked miners, Rimuru offered healing potions to help. The officer accepted, showing trust despite Rimuru being considered a monster. As they waited, Rimuru observed dwarven soldiers training and reflected on their capabilities. Eventually, the officer released Rimuru, offering to introduce them to a skilled blacksmith. The soldier asked Rimuru if they could buy some healing potions, and Rimuru agreed, even though they weren't sure about the price. Rimuru gave the soldier 5 potions, and in return, the soldier gave them gold coins. Rimuru felt uncertain about the value of the coins but didn't want to seem rude. They talked to the soldier for guidance and learned more about the currency. Later, Rimuru and their friend Gabuta were released by the captain and treated to lunch. Meanwhile, Kaijin, a dwarf, worried about rumors of war and his busy workload. He relied on 3 brothers Garm, Dold, and Mildo to help with mining ore, but they faced challenges due to a monster attack in the mines. Kaijin felt overwhelmed by the situation and feared bankruptcy. As they pondered their next move, unexpected customers arrived, adding to their worries. The captain, Kaido, brought Rimuru to a shop owned by his brother Kaijin. Inside, they met 3 miners who Rimuru had saved before. Kaijin, a gruff man, listened as they explained their situation. He shared his own troubles, mentioning a shortage of materials and pressure from Minister Vester to fulfill orders for weapons and armor amid rumors of war. Rimuru offered a chunk of Magisteel to help, and Kaijin agreed to pay for it. As they examined the Magisteel, the 3 brothers showed reverence for its rarity. Then they struck a deal, with Kaijin promising to craft Rimuru the best sword in return for their help finding technical guidance for a village project. The next day, Rimuru proposed a plan to help Kaijin meet his deadline, leading to an agreement between them. Kaijin was surprised when Rimuru asked about magic ore, explaining its rarity and significance in crafting Magisteel. Rimuru learned about the role of magicules and magic stones in this world, which served as energy sources and were used in spirit engineering. He also discovered that magical ore required specific conditions to form, typically found in areas with higher-level monsters. Kaijin shared insights into monster rankings and the value of Magisteel, which surpassed that of gold due to its magical properties. Despite possessing a large number of Magisteel, Rimuru kept it secret, fearing the consequences of revealing it. Rimuru's curiosity about magic-infused weapons led to discussions about the potential of Magisteel swords. Kaijin crafted a simple longsword for Rimuru, explaining its magical properties and ability to adapt to its wielder over time. Rimuru then replicated the sword multiple times using his unique abilities, surprising Kaijin and the others with his efficiency. After a brief prank, Rimuru revealed the completed swords, leaving Kaijin and the dwarves astonished and relieved. In a lively dwarven nightclub called the Night Butterfly, Rimuru and his friends celebrated the successful completion of their weapons delivery. Despite Rimuru's initial reluctance, the group convinced him to join the festivities with promises of meeting beautiful ladies. Excitement filled the air as they entered the club, greeted by charming hosts. The atmosphere became playful as Rimuru couldn't help but appreciate the enchanting presence of elves. However, their joy was interrupted by the arrival of Vester, a government minister with a grudge against Rimuru. The situation escalated when Kaijin, their dwarf friend, confronted Vester and even threw a punch. Amidst the chaos, Kaijin expressed interest in joining Rimuru's cause, sealing their deal with a nod. After Kaijin punched a government minister, things got complicated. Kaido, his brother, showed up with security officers and scolded him for causing trouble. Despite Rimuru's attempts to smooth things over, Kaijin was dragged away, blaming the minister for disrespecting Rimuru. Meanwhile, Gabuta, left behind, faced punishment for his past mistakes. Later, they were taken to the royal palace where they spent 2 days in comfortable custody. Kaijin explained his feud with the minister, revealing past tensions in the military. During the trial, their lawyer unexpectedly turned against them, leading to harsh sentences for Kaijin and his friends. However, just as the verdict was about to be announced, a mysterious voice interrupted the proceedings, leaving everyone in suspense. The king spoke with Kaijin, offering a chance to return, but Kaijin declined, pledging allegiance to Rimuru. The king then banished them from the kingdom, causing a stir in the court. Back at Kaijin's shop, they found Gabuta had summoned a tempest wolf as a companion. Despite the dwarves' panic, they assured that the wolf was friendly. The group hurriedly prepared for the journey, and Rimuru swallowed the contents of the shop, avoiding drawing too much attention. Now, with their preparations complete, they headed towards Riger and the other companions waiting for them. Meanwhile, after the accused left the court, silence filled the space, unsettling everyone, especially Vester. The king broke the silence, asking Vester to speak. Panicked, Vester struggled to find words, but the king revealed his disappointment in him. He showed Vester 2 items, a healing elixir and a magical sword, both creations of the slime. Vester realized the extent of his betrayal as the king reprimanded him, banning him from the palace. Feeling abandoned, Vester left to reflect on his mistakes. Meanwhile, the king ordered his agent to track the slime, sensing a deeper threat. The king pondered the true nature of the slime and prepared to take action. Back to our protagonist. After spending 5 days in the city, Rieger and friends were safe at the forest's edge, despite some plans going awry. They missed out on visiting the Free Guild and seeing the dwarves' craftsmanship. However, they found skilled craftsmen and still had gold left. They introduced the dwarves to the goblins, aiming for good teamwork. Surprisingly, there wasn't much discrimination, given their shared magical origins. With transport sorted, Rongo wasn't thrilled about carrying dwarves, but eventually agreed. However, the dwarves were terrified of Ronga. To ease tensions, Rimuru suggested using transformation magic to accommodate them, and it worked. Despite some unconscious passengers, they set off. Along the journey, they discovered Gabuta's surprising strength and decided to camp for the night. The Rimuru experimented with new abilities, discovering powerful potential but also the need for caution. The next day, they continued their journey, and the dwarves, still shaken, learned more about their destination. The thought communication ability was like talking to many people at once with the mind, which helped in meetings and planning. It worked within half a mile and was quite handy. The dwarves managed to stay on their rides better on the second day, so Rimuru made silk visors to shield their eyes from the wind. They also discovered they could control sticky thread using their mind, which was pretty cool. Everyone had a nice chat during the journey, sharing stories and learning from each other. Rimuru wondered about the differences between dwarves and goblins and asked Kaijin about his feelings towards the king. Kaijin admired the king, who was like a hero from stories. Rimuru questioned their own readiness for leadership and why Kaijin chose to join them instead of returning to the king. Kaijin said it was because it seemed fun and instinctual. They arrived at the village as planned after 2 days, feeling accomplished. Back at the goblin village after a 2-week journey, Rimuru noticed signs of progress with added tents and a large iron pot made from a turtle shell. Rimuru felt a sense of missing the place and was warmly greeted by the hobgoblins upon their return. Rimuru decided to introduce the dwarves to Rigard. However, Rigard had urgent news about unexpected visitors, goblins from other villages who wanted to join. The goblin elders expressed their desire to be followers, seeking protection during a forest-wide turf war. Though Rimuru was initially reluctant, they agreed due to the need for manpower and potential future conflicts. Rimuru set conditions and warned against betrayal. Later, goblin envoys arrived, explaining the forest's turmoil and the impending danger. Rimuru agreed to take them in, leading to a new challenge of accommodating a large number of goblins and addressing their needs for shelter and resources. The village faced a huge loss from losing many goblins but gaining babies. Hobgoblins had fewer babies, so they thought hobgoblins lived longer. They worried about illness since they had no medicine. Rimuru decided to focus on hygiene and named Mildo head of building operations. Surveying their potential new home, Ranga joined for safety. Naming the hundreds of goblins was daunting, but Rimuru managed, naming the elders with vowel-based names and Lilina for the last one. They considered creating a class system due to the large number of hobgoblins. Rimuru upgraded Rigard to Goblin King and others to Lords, signaling a new chapter in goblin history. Somewhere far from the village, Fuse, the guildmaster, sent Cabal, Ellen, and Guido to investigate Vildora's cave. Despite the dangerous mission, the trio returned alive, sharing their discovery of the missing Tempest Serpent. Fuse, sensing something amiss, tasked them with further exploration around the cave. The adventurers, though exhausted, geared up for their next journey. In a twist, a mysterious masked person asked to join them. The group, led by Cabal, accepted the new companion. As they ventured into the forest, uncertainty and curiosity surrounded their path. Back to the village, in the forest, the sound of chopping trees and hammering filled the air as the new town began to take shape, with plans for a water and septic system in progress. The water would come from the nearby river, to be processed in a building under construction, while a separate facility would handle waste processing. A temporary sleeping quarters was also under construction for the workers. The town layout was taking form, with different sections for homes and a wide main street. Despite potential vulnerabilities, they focused on progress rather than worry. The decision to name and upgrade the goblins to hobgoblins proved fruitful, enhancing their intelligence and strength. Meanwhile, unexpected guests humans arrived, saved from danger by the hobgoblins. In the tent, the 4 adventurers barged in with apologies, making the space feel crowded. Another goblin brought out tea, a gesture likely learned from the dwarves during their nightly chats. Rimuru, the leader, greeted them, curious about their visit. Cabal, Ellen, and Guido introduced themselves as B-ranked adventurers, joined by Shizu, a temporary member. Despite their casual demeanor, they had faced peril in the cave, awakening a nest of giant ants during their exploration. They shared their mission's vagueness and challenges, inadvertently revealing details about the dragon's disappearance inside the cave. Despite concerns, they found no significant treasures or magic auras, unaware of Rimuru's involvement. As they conversed, Shizu suddenly collapsed and chaos ensued. After Shizu's strange collapse, the tent fell into a tense silence. Suddenly, cracks appeared on her mask and mystical energy seeped out, signaling trouble. The adventurers recognized it as summoning magic, realizing the danger. Despite the chaos, they acted swiftly, using their skills to restrain Shizu. However, she triggered an explosion, injuring Cabal while Guido and Ellen escaped harm. Rimuru, the leader, ordered an evacuation and called for reinforcements, suspecting foul play. As Shizu transformed into the Conqueror of Flames, summoning powerful entities, the adventurers faced overwhelming odds. Despite their valiant efforts, they struggled to combat Ifrit, the Fire Titan, and his salamanders. Rimuru sensed the gravity of the situation but remained composed, strategizing for the battle ahead while ensuring the safety of his allies. Rimuru watched as Cabal, Ellen, and Guido struggled against the fiery threats. Concerned for their safety, Rimuru provided them with recovery potions and focused on defeating Ifrit. With the help of Ranga, Rimuru engaged in battle, learning to counter Ifrit's attacks. Utilizing Ellen's magic, Rimuru discovered a way to defeat the flame salamanders and protect the adventurers. Despite their efforts, the adventurers suffered injuries, prompting Rimuru to prioritize their safety. As Rimuru confronted Ifrit alone, the situation grew dire as Ifrit unleashed powerful attacks. Despite the challenges, Rimuru remained determined to defeat Ifrit and protect the town and started the real battle. In the midst of the intense battle, Rimuru found himself trapped by Ifrit's powerful spell, resigned to what seemed like an inevitable fate. Reflecting on missed opportunities and regrets, Rimuru realized the effectiveness of their resist temperature ability, which saved them from certain doom. With newfound determination, Rimuru devised a plan to defeat Ifrit using their sticky thread and steel thread combination, ultimately outsmarting the fiery adversary. As the final confrontation unfolded, Rimuru confidently used their unique skill, Predator to swallow Ifrit, to secure victory. Shizu found herself caught in memories of her past, haunted by the images of her mother's cold hand and the warmth of pure white ash. Despite her reluctance, she acknowledged the path she had walked, finding solace in the hero who had saved her soul. Now a teacher at the Society of Adventurers, Shizu mentored students like Yuki and Hinata, observing their divergent paths with a mix of pride and concern. As Yuki flourished, shaping the Free Guild into a force for good, Shizu embarked on a journey to confront her demons and settle her regrets. Alongside a group of adventurers, she encountered a town of monsters led by an enigmatic slime, experiencing a sense of belonging she hadn't felt since her hometown. Yet as her life neared its end, Ifrits will threaten to consume her, bringing her journey to an abrupt and uncertain conclusion. The adventurer trio, Ellen, Cabal, and Guido, recovered from their injuries with the help of a miraculous potion. As they marveled at their healed bodies, they couldn't help but bicker about potential hazard pay. Rimuru, eager to repay their kindness, offered a farewell gift, special equipment made by dwarven brothers. The adventurers were overjoyed with their new gear, celebrating the quality and uniqueness of each item. Despite the recent hardships, the trio set off on a new quest after 3 days of rest, trusting Rimuru to care for Shizu. Rimuru's promise to visit their town and the generosity of the farewell gifts left the adventurers in high spirits, reinforcing the camaraderie between them and Rimuru. After a week of rest, Shizu finally woke up and apologized for the trouble she caused. Despite her transformation, she remembered everything from her past, including her home in Japan. Curious about Rimuru's real name, she asked, and Rimuru hesitated before revealing it. Shizu shared her desire to see how her city had changed, and Rimuru showed her through thought communication, bringing tears to her eyes. Then, unexpectedly, Shizu made a request for Rimuru to consume her. She explained that it would free her from a curse and allow her to confront the one who hurt her, a demon lord named Leon Cromwell. Rimuru, touched by her resolve, agreed to fulfill her request and vowed to make Leon Cromwell regret his actions. With a heavy heart, Shizu closed her eyes, hoping for peace as Rimuru used the unique skill Predator to grant her final wish, promising her a tranquil rest within him. Shizu's final momentum. The young girl gazed up, her innocent face lighting up with relief and joy as she discovered a familiar figure. An immediate smile graced her features as she playfully scolded the figure for disappearing earlier. However, the figure gestured towards something in the distance, and the girl's expression shifted to one of doubtful sadness. Suddenly, she spotted her mother, and joy surged through her. With pure excitement, she rushed towards her mother, leaving the figure behind, which vanished like a fleeting memory. The poignant reunion between the girl and her mother signaled the end of a lengthy and emotional journey. Shizu had passed away, leaving behind a final wish for Satoru Mikami. Now he felt a new sense of purpose to learn about the powerful demon lord named Leon Cromwell. Satoru gained new abilities from Shizu, including the skill Deviant and Control Flame, as well as the strength of Ifrit whom he consumed. He decided to explore his new ability to transform into a human. To his surprise, the transformation felt familiar, resembling his appearance from 30 years ago. However, he discovered a significant difference: he lacked certain physical features, leading to a mix of emotions. Despite this, Satoru realized the convenience and power of his new form, allowing him to experiment with different appearances and abilities using his replication skill.
That's it for today, guys, and thanks for watching the video. Stay tuned for next chapter. Until then, goodbye.